guys, this is Second Sales for the weekend of January 21st. It's the 21st. No, it's not. It's the 18th. I don't know what's going on. I had a pretty trying travel day yesterday. So I'll talk more about that later. But I did get enough books the last 2 weeks that I wanted to go ahead and make some time to go through them. So I'm going to do that now. I got 3 books for review over the last couple weeks. And the first one I got is Some Kind of Animal by Marie Ramasco Moore. And this doesn't come out until August, so it's quite a ways until it's released. It just sounded really interesting to me. And I actually just looked. It's not getting very good reviews on Goodreads. But it's about a girl living in a small town, and she has a twin sister. And her twin sister apparently lives in the woods like a wild animal or something like that. And then there's some other more supernatural stuff going on. That's all I know about it. I thought it sounded kind of interesting. So I went ahead and I requested it for review, and I got it through NetGalley. So that comes out in August. The next one I got is Hearts of Oak by Eddie Robson. This one comes out March 17th, so pretty soon, in a couple months. And it's a fantasy. It sounds like a fantasy, maybe urban fantasy-ish, about a somewhat living city and strange things happening in this city. And the mayor's number one consultant is his cat. And that's kind of all I know about it. It sounded really neat, and I thought it sounded like something I might like. It sounds a little bit like, I don't know if I want to say Lovecraftian, but it sounds like maybe the city's kind of living and people are going a little weird in it. So yeah, hopefully that will be a good read as well. And then the other one I got also comes out in March, and that is The Midnight Lie by Marie Witowski. She wrote the Winners, I think it's called the Winners Trilogy or whatever, that was set like in an alternate type of like Greek setting. This one is another fantasy, young adult, and I really love the cover for it. I've started reading it. I'm only like 1 chapter in, and so far it's been fine. That's kind of all I know. I don't even really remember what it's supposed to be about, so we'll see if I like it. I should have it read, pretty quickly. So there's that. And then I did get 2 audiobooks through the Audible Originals, which you get these for free. If you have an Audible membership, you get to kind of pick 2 books from a selection. The first one I got is Junkyard Cats by Faith Hunter. I have been a pretty big fan of Faith Hunter and her series. This is a little bit different from her other series. It's not really urban fantasy. It's a science fiction series about this woman who lives in a scrapyard and is making a living, selling scrap. And the World War III has ended, and the world's a pretty big mess. It's a little bit post-apocalyptic and a little bit sci-fi. I did read it. I thought it was pretty good. It kind of suffers from a typical science fiction problem. Like, there's a lot of science fiction-y terms and history thrown at you really quickly, and it ended up being just kind of a little bit dense and a little bit of a mess. But I really like the Junkyard Cats, and I really like the main characters. So I don't know, if this ends up being a series, I'll probably try out the second book and see how I like it. But again, got that one. The other one I got through Audible Originals for free is Interview with the Robot by Lee Bacon. This one I liked a lot. It's appropriate for like middle grade or kids or whatever. And it starts out with a girl who's been picked up for shoplifting. She's like 12, and she has to have an interview with like a welfare person. And what ends up transpiring is you find out she's a robot, and like the whole history of how she was made and all of this. And it was a good story. I really liked it. I thought it was well done. It was very engaging. There's some fun twists in it. And it was good. It's short. I think it's 2 or 3 hours long, but it was well done and I liked it. So I would recommend that if you are looking for something shorter to like listen to with your kids, or you just think, it's all about like artificial intelligence and all of that. All right. So I did buy quite a few books, and a lot of these were kind of I got a couple Amazon gift cards for Christmas, and then I went and bought some books that I haven't been able to get through the library. One that I had pre-ordered for a while that I got was Sweep With Me by Alona Andrews. This is the 5th book in the Innkeeper Chronicles series, and this is actually my favorite series by this writing couple right now. It's science fiction / urban fantasy about an innkeeper, but in this case, the inn is a living thing, and it is kind of a haven for different science fiction alien races that come to Earth. So, really loving this series and very excited to get this. And I don't think this is a full book. I think it's more of like a holiday novella thing because it came out around Christmas, but excited to read that. The other one I bought in paper format is Diamond and Dawn by Lyra Celine. This is the second and final book in the Amber and Dust duology. I really enjoyed the first book. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. So this will kind of tie up that series for me. I have been waiting for my library to get it, but they just never did. So I went ahead and bought it kind of as a treat for myself. The next 3 books I bought for me and my son and my husband to read, and these are the final 3 omnibus collections for Full Metal Alchemist. So you have, I think this is omnibus like 8 or 7 or something like that, and that's volumes 19 through 21. And then you have this one, which is volumes 22 through 24. And the final book in the series, which is volumes 25 to 27. So I am happy that this is actually a complete manga series. Sometimes they just go on forever. This has been really good. I'm probably going to go ahead and start reading this book today. Because I'll have time. So that's what I got. It's 5 books that I purchased, 2 audiobooks, which is 7, and then 3 for review. So 10 books. That's a nice round number. I thought I'd go ahead and go through them for you guys. And now the rest of this will be me complaining a little bit about just life in general. If I seem tired, I am really tired. I had to go out and travel down to Missouri again for work. And because my family has a hockey tournament, or had a hockey tournament that is going on right now, because I'm doing this Saturday morning, starting Friday night, I decided I got special permission to fly out so that I could be back early Friday morning and be here in time to leave for this hockey tournament, which is down in Mankato, Minnesota, about a 2-hour drive away from our house. Now, a lot happened. Found out on, Thursday that Minnesota was supposed to get a blizzard Friday into Saturday, and then found out Kansas was supposed to get an ice storm starting Thursday night. So I made my reservations to fly back out of Kansas City Friday morning really early. So I figured, by Friday morning, the ice storm will be through Kansas City, which is what they were predicting. And the blizzard is supposed to start around noon in Minnesota. So I'll get it back into Minnesota at like 8 in the morning. That didn't happen. It was a disaster. So I got up at 3 in the morning on Friday, took my rental car back to Kansas City Airport, which I will say is one of the worst airports that you can go through. Like, all the places to eat and shops are outside of security. Once you get into the terminals, there's like nothing there. And it's teeny tiny. There's not much seating. There aren't places to charge your phones. I mean, I think there's a couple. The bathroom has like 2 stalls. And it's just an awful airport. Anyways, I dropped my car off at like 4 in the morning. Get on the bus to the terminal, the shuttle bus to the terminal, get in, find out they don't open to security till like 4:30. So my flight, I'm supposed to be boarding on my plane at 5:30. They open security at 4:30. I get through. They board at 5:30. We get on the plane. We have to de-ice the plane twice because, it wasn't raining when I got to the airport, but it started raining about 20 minutes before my flight was going to leave. So we sit on the plane and we're de-iced and everybody's getting a little restless because we're still sitting there. Find out, as people probably saw in national news, that a plane slid off the runway, which is a huge deal because they have to get a bus out to get the people off of the plane. And thank God I wasn't on that plane. That was the plane that took off before mine. And so we're sitting there and they don't know what they're going to do because they can't turn the plane around because they have people on the runway. So we're sitting on the plane waiting to take off. So they end up closing the airport, and the airport closed and we were still on the plane. So we sat on the plane until about 8 maybe, and they ended up pulling out a tug car to tug the plane backwards to the gate. And that was kind of crazy. I've never been through that before. It was weird. And so when we got to the gate, then they didn't know what to do. So they decided to have us all deplane. So we all got off the plane with all of our stuff. And I was going to check my luggage, but thank God I didn't, because my luggage, who knows where it would be at this point. Anyways, so we all got off the plane. And meanwhile, while all this is going on, the airport is closed. Everybody's flights have been canceled. People are very upset. It's a very small terminal. I need to pee because I've been sitting on a plane for like 2.5 hours, and we couldn't take our seatbelts off because they weren't stopped, really. They were kind of, I don't know. So I go to use the bathroom. It's like a 20-minute wait because there's only 2 stalls in this little terminal, and there's a million people there. Well, meanwhile, I had some coworkers who were flying back on later flights, and they get in, find out their flights are canceled, and so we're like, okay, whatever. So at like 8:40, something like that, they announce, okay, the airport's back open. We're putting you back on the plane. And we're like, okay. So we get on the plane, we get de-iced again, we get out, we go to take off, we go through the safety stuff. They start to go down the runway, then they slow down. And we're like, what the hell? The airport is closed again. The people who are trying to keep the runways open are falling on their butts. It's sheer ice everywhere. It's closed again. All right. So what are we going to do? We don't know. They return us to the gate. So we go back to the gate. We're on the plane. And then they come on and say, if you really need to leave the plane, you can. But just so you know, the waiting area is at maximum capacity. And if you go through security, there's a good chance you won't get back in to catch your flight, because we're going to leave as soon as they open the airport up again. Okay. So now it's like 9 something. I'm like, whatever. We were on a nice plane with the video screens and the charging stations and everything. And I had the whole road myself. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to stay on the plane, right? Because I have bathrooms here that I don't have to wait 40 minutes to use. I have snacks in my backpack. I have a bottle of water, whatever. It's all good. No problems, right? So I stay on the plane. I watched Zombieland 2, which is really good. I really liked it. My husband is like, why did you watch that without me? And I'm like, I deserve to watch whatever movie I want right now. So I watch it. It gets to be about, 12:30 now, and I've been just sitting on this plane and, using the bathroom, whatever, having a snack, charging my phone, watching a movie, reading some books. They decide that okay, airport's open, we're ready to go. But then Delta decides, since the flights at 9 and 11 got canceled, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. got canceled, those people are going to get moved on to the plane I was on, because the plane I was on was only like a third of the way full. So now they have to let all the people, not even to mention when they got us back on the plane the second time, when they replaned us, nobody's boarding pass worked because we had already been on the plane, so they had to manually enter everybody's name and seat number to get us on the plane. So now they're moving people onto our plane, and they have to rebook everybody's luggage. But they come over and announce that they're having trouble with their computer systems, and nobody's luggage, they're not able to book people's luggage to the final destination through Minneapolis now. So now they're trying to pull what luggage they can and pack it into the overhead carry-on so at least some people can have their luggage. Okay, this goes on. This takes quite a while. So now at about 2 o'clock, I've been sitting on the plane continuously since about 8:30 or 9 or something like that, not to mention the 3 hours I sat on the plane before they asked us to deplane. We get out to the runway, we get de-iced, we're ready to take off. They come over. One of the passengers has a medical emergency. I am not kidding. This is insane. We go to a gate, okay? We have to go to the nearest gate possible so this guy can get off. They get him off the plane, and then people are pissed off. And now they're missing their connections. It's been a bad day. So now other people are demanding to get off the plane. But they're not at a Delta gate. So they have to bring a mobile Delta gate over so they can deplane anybody who wants to get off the plane, because they have to let you off the plane at a gate legally if you want to get off. So now all these people are getting off the plane at about 3-ish. And they have to get all their luggage off the plane. So now they're pulling all these people's luggage off the plane, and we're still sitting here. We're sitting here. I'm watching a second or third movie at this point, and the power goes off on the plane. I am not kidding. I can't say that enough. It was just like, oh my God, seriously? They get the power back up the plane, get it rebooted, continue to get people off the plane. So now it was very full, and now the plane's rather empty again. Still sitting there. Meanwhile, the blizzard is starting in Minnesota. Like, my friends and family are like, hey, it's starting to snow. Hey, it's getting kind of bad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh my God, like by the time we finally get back to Minneapolis, I'm going to have to they're probably going to divert us to a different airport. So we finally get at like 4 something, they roll us out to de-ice the plane. Keep in mind, I got to the airport at like 3:30, so I've been there a really long time. They have not given us any water. They have not given us any snacks. They made an announcement that they're out of snacks and the airport is running low on food. So I have snacks, I'm doing okay, but I'm getting pretty dehydrated at this point because I drink more than like 1 bottle of water a day. And the food I have does not have any moisture content. So finally we get out. They de-ice us. They move us to a runway and say, oh, we're going to take off. And we're like, okay, great. Oh, we have to go to a different runway. So we drive to a different runway. Oh, they need to de-ice us again. What? So by the time we finally take off, it's after 5 o'clock at night. And everybody cheers because, good Lord, I have been on this plane almost 12 hours in this seat. And I had a phone charger, so that made things a little bit better. And I was not I was not in the worst situation of people here. There were a couple on there with a newborn baby. There was a lady with a dog. They all ended up like having to just leave, and other people are coming in, and there's people trying to get to Europe, and it's just a huge mess. The lady sitting next to me actually missed her flight to Atlanta, and Delta thought it would be a good idea. Like, she was trying to go to Alabama, so they thought they could divert her through like Minneapolis and Cleveland and then get her to Alabama. So she had 2 more plane rides to do after she got into Minneapolis. I felt really bad for her. But we finally did touch down in Minneapolis at, 6:30, something like that. And then it took me a long time to drive home from the airport because it was it was 4 to 6 inches of snow and it had been plowed a lot of places. So 30 miles an hour, my, hour, normally it takes a little over an hour to get to the airport from my house, and it took a lot longer than that. I got home by 8:30 at night. I was supposed to be in Minneapolis at 7:30 a.m. Now, this is not by far the worst travel story anybody has told, but it was a long freaking day. Meanwhile, of course, my husband and son take off at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon to go to the hockey tournament, and that is where they are right now. And it still hasn't been plowed out by me, so I'm trying to decide if I'm going to drive down there today and like spend the night with them or just stay home. And I'm tired, and I am incredibly sore, and I'm not really sure why, except for that I had to sit in that airplane seat for like 12 hours. And it was a long time to sit in one spot. And I got super dehydrated. Like, I drank like a liter of water and was still like super thirsty when I got home. I finally actually got up in the airplane at one point and said, do you think that I could get some water? And they're like, oh, are you one of the people who were supposed to leave at 6 a.m.? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. So they gave me water. And then after that, they did come through and give some water. And they like ran out of ice and they ran out of snacks. Keep in mind, my flight from Kansas City is supposed to be 50 minutes. It's not even an hour-long flight. And I was on the plane for over 12 hours. It was just insane. It ranks pretty high up there on one of my worst travel experiences. So anyways, I'm here. I'm tired. I feel like jet lagged, even though all I did was sit on a plane for 12 hours. But I got some good sleep last night. I got up and was able to work out this morning. I'm still really sore and I have a headache and I'm just whiny. But I'm glad I got to whine to all you about it. And that was my experience. I do plan on contacting Delta about this. Honestly, they're a great airline, and I fly with them all the time and have never had issues. They've always been very accommodating. Last time we had like a 1 or 2 hour delay. They actually gave me a huge credit back to my account. So I'm hoping that happens this time. If it's not, I'm going to bitch because that was miserable. One of my coworkers got off and he was like, that is the worst travel experience I have ever had in my life. And so I was kind of subsisting off of nuts while I had like some little packets of nuts, and then they brought Cheez-Its. So I had like 300 calories worth of little Cheez-It packets yesterday to sustain me through my journey. Anyways, I'm incredibly happy to be back home. I don't really want to leave it, go down to Volcano. I'm just so happy to not be traveling. So yeah, they'll be great. Anyways, that was a very long explanation. I hope you guys are having a great week, better than I had, and that you got some great books to read. I will talk to you later. Bye.